Welcome, Room 6 friends, and thank you for joining me today for our Thinking About Math Thursday. For today's math review, we are going to discuss the second of the 3 essential learning topics that you need to know by 4th grade. And here are those 3 essential learning topics that we started discussing at last week's video. The first essential learning topic was addition and subtraction, and we covered that in last week's video. The second essential learning topic is multiplication and division. This is what we'll be covering today. And next week, we will review the third of the 3 essential learning topics for our final week of our Thinking About Math Thursdays. So by the end of 3rd grade, you are expected to be able to multiply and divide using different strategies and also using different multiplication properties. So let's start with a multiplication review problem. Now, as I read this problem, I want you to identify any important information that we might need to help us solve the problem, and also be on the lookout for any buzzwords that tell us what to do. Okay, so the problem says, Rylan has a special talent of balancing a spoon on his nose. If he does this for 5 minutes for 7 days straight, how long will he balance in all? All right, so let's work through that problem and find the important information. First of all, what is the question? Let's underline the question. It says, how long will he balance in all? In all is a buzzword for addition also, but in this problem we can use multiplication to help us solve the total amount of time that he will balance in all. So let's find the important information that we need to help us answer that question. We know for 5 minutes each day for 7 days straight, he's going to balance a spoon on his nose. 5 minutes for 7 days straight. Those are our important pieces of information from this word problem. So let's circle them. All right, so we know this is a multiplication problem. We can solve this in a few different ways. I'm going to show you 3 ways today, but there's also the 4th way, which is memorization. I'm going to show you, though, some strategies that can help you if you don't have this multiplication problem memorized yet. So take a look at this chart for solving multiplication problems. The first way to solve a multiplication problem is by drawing a picture. The second way is by using skip counting or repeated addition. And the third way is by using the distributive property. That's where you create 2 smaller multiplication facts to help you solve the problem. Now, if we were solving a multiplication problem that had 3 factors, we would use that 4th strategy. But for today, we just have 2 factors. All right, let's start by drawing a picture. I'll show you both an array, but also using groups. So starting with an array, we know that for 5 minutes each day for 7 days, he's going to try to balance that spoon on his nose. So we can create 5 rows with 7 in each row, or we could create 7 rows with 5 in each row. Remember, the commutative property tells us that it doesn't matter which way you multiply the factors. You're still going to get the same product. I'm going to draw 5 rows with 7 in each row. All right, let's take a look at our array. We have 5 rows, which represents the 5 minutes, and then we have 7 circles in each row, and that represents the 7 days. We can also draw a picture by showing groups. We can draw 5 groups with 7 in each group, or remember with the commutative property, we can also draw 7 groups with 5 in each group. I'll show you 7 groups with 5 in each group just to show you what the commutative property looks like with pictures. All right, so here are our groups. We have 7 groups, and in each group you'll see that there are 5 dots to represent the 5 minutes. So that's one way that you can solve this multiplication problem. What if we wanted to use skip counting or repeated addition? Let's take a look at what that would look like. So for this problem, we can choose to either skip count by 5s 7 times, or we can skip count by 7s 5 times. Because skip counting by fives is so much easier, we'll skip count by fives 7 times. So we start with 5. Next is 10. So far we've skip counted twice. We need to skip count 7 times. 15. 20. So far we've skip counted 4 times. We still need 3 more times of skip counting. 25 makes 5. 30 makes 6. And 35 makes 7. Now we can also use repeated addition. Remember, multiplication is the same as repeated addition. So we can add 5 7 times, or we can add 7 5 times. To show you the opposite of what I did before, let's add 7 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sevens. All right, now we can group these sevens using our doubles facts. We know that 7 plus 7 equals 14. Another 7 plus 7 equals 14. And now we have a new addition sentence. We've gone from 5 add-ins to 3. So let's add the 14 and the 14. Now we have 2 add-ins, 28 plus 7. Now we know that 28 plus 2 equals 30, and we still have 5 left in that 7, which takes us to 35. Now remember, these pictures can also be used for skip counting and repeated addition as well. You can skip count by 7 5 times, or by 5 7 times using your picture to help you. All right, now the final multiplication strategy we're going to use to solve this problem is the distributive property. The distributive property says that if a multiplication problem is too difficult, no problem. You can break it up into 2 smaller multiplication problems. So let's take our multiplication problem, 5 times 7. And let's see if we can break that up into 2 smaller multiplication problems. Because 5 is a friendly factor, let's hold on to the 5 and let's break apart the 7 into 2 smaller factors. How about 5 and 2? We love the 5s, right? So let's pull 5 and a 2 out of this 7. And now our 2 new multiplication problems are 5 times 5 plus 5 times 2. We don't see the 7 anymore, but that's okay because 5 plus 2 equals 7. So it means the same thing. Now we simply multiply and add together the 2 products. 5 times 5 equals 25. And 5 times 2, 10. Now we simply add those 2 answers together and we get 35. All right, so let's go back to the question and see if we're ready to answer it. The question said, how long will he balance in all? We did our multiplication a few different ways and we found that 5 times 7 equals 35. Now don't forget your units. We were given units here. 5 minutes for 7 days straight equals 35 minutes. All right, so that's our multiplication review. Let's go ahead and move on to division using a different word problem. All right, next let's practice our division skills. As I'm reading this word problem, I want you to think about the information that's important, the question that's being asked, and listen for any buzzwords that tell you which operation you should be using to solve. All right, so the problem says Ashton wants to bake some cookies for his 3 best friends. There is enough cookie dough for 15 cookies. How many cookies does each friend get? All right, let's start first by identifying what is the question that's being asked. How many cookies will each friend get? Did you guys notice that buzzword? Each. When we talk about sharing, when we're talking about putting a larger sum into smaller groups, we're talking about division. So take a look at this chart because we're going to be solving this problem using these 4 different strategies. The first strategy is by drawing an array. The second strategy is by using skip counting. The third strategy is going to be to use repeated subtraction. And the fourth strategy is going to be using grouping. All right, so the first strategy is going to be using an array. We know the total, 15 cookies. And we know how many rows we need because there are 3 best friends. So we'll start first by drawing the 3 rows. And we're going to fill in each row one at a time until we have shown 15 total cookies. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We're still not at 15, so we're going to continue to fill in the array. 10, 11, 12. Remember, we're trying to get to 15, so we're going to do another row and see if that takes us to 15. 13, 14, 15. So now that we have our array, we can see that Ashton's 3 friends will each get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cookies. Now let's see what this problem looks like if we solve using skip counting. Because there are 3 friends, we will skip count by 3, however many times it takes until we get to 15. 3, next comes 6, 9, 12, 15. Now we count how many times did we skip count in all? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So by using skip counting, we can tell that each friend will get 5 cookies. Now let's move on to strategy number 3, repeated subtraction. Remember, we talked in our multiplication problem about how we can use repeated addition to solve multiplication problems. Well, we can use repeated subtraction to help us solve a division problem. So we're going to start with our total, that's the 15 cookies. And we're going to start subtracting 3 to show the 3 friends. And we're going to continue subtracting until we get down to 0. So we've subtracted 3, we're at 12. So now 12 minus 3 equals 9. We're still not at 0, so we're going to continue. Okay, so I finished my repeated subtraction sentences, and we got all the way down to 0. So how many times did we need to subtract 3? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Using repeated subtraction, we also show that each friend will get 5 cookies. All right, now let's use our final strategy for today, and that is using groups. We are going to show 3 groups to represent our 3 friends. Now we're going to put 1 tally in each group and continue counting until we get to 15 cookies. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. So using the tallies, we're able to see that each friend will get 5 cookies. So let's go back to the question. how many cookies will each friend get? Our division sentence was 15 divided by 3. And we found using all these strategies the same answer, that 15 divided by 3 equals 5. So each friend will get 5, what are the units? Cookies. Now, one strategy that you can use that we didn't use on the board is multiplication. You can use multiplication to help you with your division. You can ask yourself, 3 times what unknown number equals 15? Finally, it's important that you know from memory all of your multiplication facts before you enter 4th grade. Now, what that means is that in your head, you can fluently multiply your 1's facts, your 2's facts, all the way up to your 12's facts. So to help you practice, I'm going to be sharing on Google Classroom a multiplication flashcard document. You can print it up and fill in the answers on the back and use them as flashcards to practice. If you prefer, you can get a blank piece of paper and you can fold it in half once, fold it in half once more. Now you have 4. Now if we fold that piece into 3 equal parts, 4 times 3 equals 12. Now do this with 12 pieces of paper and you will have a full set of multiplication facts to practice at home. All right, that's all for today. In the comments section, I'd like you to share what is one question that you still have about multiplication or division. Okay, I will see you tomorrow for our Fun Friday. I hope you have a wonderful Thursday. Bye. Air high five.